Okay, welcome to this video demonstration of Dujour, which is a JSON or CSV data file server. It was developed in Go. It's a Go binary. It's a very simple application, the aim of which is to help Morpheus users host data for their option lists. If you're not familiar, option lists are the backing data that are used with inputs in Morpheus, previously called option types. And inputs themselves are basically select boxes, HTML controls. Inputs and option lists are used throughout Morpheus, particularly within workflows and also within self-service catalog items, to name just two examples. Dujour was developed really to provide an optimum way of hosting data. Some standout features very quickly before we get into installing it. It supports CSV data files and will automatically convert those to a JSON API. It provides a hot reload, as I call it, so data can be dropped into a specific data folder for Dujour, and Dujour will create the API, the JSON API for any new data, but also update the API where data changes. This is particularly useful for remote or automated movements of data to the server from other automations. Otherwise, you're faced with having to do this process manually as often as the data requires. So that's another benefit. And the final benefit really is that it provides its own self-signed TLS, so it runs over HTTPS, which means that the data is obviously the transfers are secure, which, if you're running on the appliance itself, isn't such a big deal, but if you wanted to host this separately on a virtual machine within the private network, that will be an option, and all the data, all the communication between Morpheus and the Dujour server would be encrypted. So that's another benefit. So let's get into the installation. As I say, it's a Go binary, and the binaries are provided in the repo, which is github.com/spoonboy-io/Dujour. And on the releases page, you can see we're up to a minor release of 0.08. I'll probably bump that at some point to a version at least 0.10. And we've got various releases for various Linux and Mac distributions. I'm hosting my Morpheus software on a Ubuntu VM, so I'm going to be going for the x86 64-bit distribution. So I'm going to copy this link and we will wget that to the server. You can see I've got a demo directory set up specifically for this. Comes down nice and quick, and we're just going to see what we've got. So ls.la, there's our tar file, so we need to unpack that with I think it is tar -xvf and then the binary name. Okay, you can see now we've got 3 additional files, and the first of them in green is the Dujour Go binary. We've got the license and the README. Now, to get this running, it's as straightforward as /Dujour. That's one of the lovely things about Go. It cross-compiles to the environment or the OS that you want, and it's very straightforward to run. So let's get this going. Okay, we get the banner that tells us a little bit of meta about the server and the release version of the software. The first thing we can see is that we have no data sources to serve, so we're going to have to fix that in a minute. But before we do, let's just go and check out what we do have. So it's running on port 18651. So let's go there. And okay, advanced, proceed. Now this is running outside of the the Morpheus Nginx server, so the TLS is terminated by the application itself here and not Nginx. So the first page, the home page, is a very simple help page that tells us what we can do with this. So we can see we've got a list command that will tell us what data we've got loaded, and we've got then specific ways of retrieving a data source and also a specific record within that data source. So let's just try list and see what it tells us. And we've got nothing available. So we're going to rectify that now. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, I think, get another session going. So we'll leave this server running and we can demonstrate the hot reload feature fairly well with another SSH session. So if I go to that one, there we go, and I'm already logged in. Good. So let's just go back two folders or one folder, because I have got some demo data ready to serve. People CSV. Let's just have a quick look at what is in that file. Very simple. 4 records, 4 columns of data, IDs through 1 to 4, with some people. Dave, Alan, Sonia, Anne. So this at the moment is in the wrong place, because what I want to do first is just demonstrate what's happened. In fact, we can see it if I highlight it here. The first run of Dujour created 2 additional folders. The first is a certs folder. That's where our public and a certificate and private key are stored for the TLS. And also we've got a data folder, and that's where we're going to throw all of our JSON files and CSV files. And so we'll do that now. So I'm going to basically, I'll copy that to Dujour.data. Need that. Okay, and let's just go and have a check that we have something there. Okay, so people's there now. So what does our server telling us? Okay, great. So now we run list. It tells us we've got a new endpoint created for people, and the source file is data people CSV, so we can reference that. So let's go and have a look at that endpoint for people. Okay, and we've now got a JSON response to that GET request for the people, and we can go further and we can pick out particular people using the ID. At the moment only ID is supported, so let's pick out the record for Alan. Okay, so that's Alan's record. And then to further demonstrate the hot reload capability, at the moment Alan has an age of 25, so let's go and edit that on the fly. And we'll change his age to 26, because that's an error. And save that down. And we'll reload Alan's record again. And we can see that he's now age 26. So that's demonstrated the TLS, the hot reload, and the fact that we can drop CSV files into the Dujour data folder and have Dujour parse them to JSON and create the API for the files automatically. So the next thing I want to demonstrate is, we know Morpheus demonstration would be complete without some Morpheus. So let's just run this in my local appliance, which I run in VirtualBox. So let's log in. Now I've created some of this, scaffolded some of the stuff I need for this already. So I'm going to go to library and then options, and you can see here that we have this record for people, and that is referencing that endpoint. I went through this prior to actually doing the video, so I'll show you what we have there. It's a select list for the input. It's using the option list people, and the option list for people is here. So it's using the endpoint we've just discovered there on port 8651 and then people. And we're using a translation script. And the reason we use translation scripts is that, as you probably noted, the data has 4 keys per record, or columns if you wanted to talk in CSV terms. And here we want to just grab 2 of those because our select control basically only hosts 2. It hosts a value and it hosts a visible field. So we want to grab 2 of those, and we're going to grab the name for the visible component, and the value of each option in the select control will be ID. And it's get, it's real time, so it updates every time we make the call. And we're going to ignore SSL errors. We need to do that because the certificate is self-signed, and if we don't, this will fail. So this should all be good. And closing that down, if I go to automation and workflows, this is one that I set up. So we're using, I'll show you what we have. There's no task in there, it's not doing anything at all, but the form, the UI that's presented will allow us to select the person we want. So we'll save that and we'll execute that. And here you can see we've got the select option and then our 4 people in here. Now, let's just do one thing here. Nano people again, and I'm going to change Sonia's name to Yonya randomly, or Zonya with a Z, and save that. And now what should happen, because this is real time, I will need to refresh the page, but because the data is real time, I should be able to execute that, list my people, and find a Zonya. So again, that's demonstrated the value of the hot reload. And just to reinforce that point, it opens up doors for putting data into the Dujour server and your Morpheus application automatically via SFTP, SCP, WinSCP, whatever you would use. And that means that the maintenance of these flows, which usually involve exporting from a system, converting the data into a format that you can use, hosting that data somewhere that you can access, and then finally making a process which iterates on that as and when the data is updated, or performs that every time the data is updated. Dujour handles 3 of those steps for you because it will convert the CSV. So if you can get CSV, it will convert that. It will host it securely, and the hot reload is built in. So that's a demonstration of Dujour. I hope that's been useful, and feel free to download it and try it out.